Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Regina, and in this video I wanted to give you guys a quick tour of the perennials that I have growing in my garden. Last year was my year for perennial investment, so I purchased several different perennials, understanding that most of them aren't going to produce at all or much in the first year, but this year, the second year, is the year I'm hoping to get lots of fruit from many of the perennials that I'm growing, and I definitely recommend now is the time. Invest in some perennials so that you can have fruit for years to come. So the first items on the perennial tour are blueberries. These I just have sitting on my patio, which is a mess, by the way. I've just been throwing things up here as I've been cleaning the yard and organizing things for spring. But these are actually 3 different varieties. Blueberries are something that I never thought I'd really want to grow, because I've always liked blueberries, but I've never liked them enough. But I grew some last year. It's because I bought some plants that were on clearance, and they were really good. So I've learned that blueberries that you grow yourself taste way better than store-bought blueberries. So I always grow my blueberries in pots, and that's because they require acidic soil, which is not what we have. And so that I can maintain the soil environment they need, I grow them in planters. These blueberries, as you can see, they're starting to bloom and leaf out. So they are ready for spring. We're gonna get some pretty cold weather this weekend, down into the high 20s. So I will be covering these up. Now, obviously blueberries can handle the cold weather. They are rated for this, the varieties I have are good for this environment. But I don't want the blooms to get damaged. Just a few minutes below 30 degrees is enough to can be enough to damage the blooms. And if the blooms get damaged, I don't get fruit. And so I purchased these. This is a Titan plant, and this is supposed to produce blueberries that are like a quarter size in diameter. So I'm really excited about these. These two, here's the titles, the names of them. I can't pronounce it. This one is a Vernon. And I put those two in the same planter just because they were pretty small, so I figured they'd be okay together in this large planter. Alright, so next up are strawberries. I have some strawberries growing here in a laundry basket. I saw this on somebody else's channel and I thought it was really cool, so I gave it a try. Some of the plants are doing great. Some of them did not survive the summer. But I am hoping to get some decent production from these. We'll see how they do. This was an experiment, so I think it's doing okay. And then here in this raised bed, this is a 4x12 bed, and this is all strawberries as well. Now these right here in the corner where they're all spread out, these actually planted in this bed last summer or last spring, which is why they're a little more full. The rest of these I actually had growing on my fence in rain gutters, and it just didn't work out. It just gets too hot here in the summer for them to stay moist. They dried out so quickly, and they were just overcrowded after a while. I've seen it work, which is why I tried it, but I guess not here in Texas. So I moved the ones that were salvageable to this bed, and they're doing okay. It looks like some of them might have died. They might have not been in as good of condition, but most of them look great. I think I planted these here about a month and a half ago, and this is where they'll stay. So since these are second-year plants, I'm hoping to get some decent production from them this year. My family and I, we love strawberries, so we're really excited about these. So here on the fence, this is where they were. So you can still see some there. I had to clean these out. I'm going to take these rain gutters down, and I think I'll use some of them in the house as bookshelves. And then I don't know what I'll do with the rest of them. Maybe build something to hold them, and maybe try growing something else in them, like bush beans or something like that. So here I have 2 dwarf nectarine trees. Actually, when I purchased these, I purchased Bonanza patio peach trees, and that's what I thought I got. That's what I bought and paid for, but they turned out to be nectarine trees because when the fruit grew, there was no fuzz. And that's fine. They were delicious. And I told the company, and they actually gave me store credit for the entire amount, which was generous because I still have the trees. And so I used that to purchase some other things from them. But yeah, but the fruit was delicious. These are also growing in planters. They're really, really large planters. So far, they're doing well. So I'm excited for them. They have not awakened yet this spring. And then here, I have the rest of my blueberries. This one is a Premier blueberry plant. I purchased this last year from the same place where I bought those trees. I actually used my store credit on these. It's the Premier blueberry. If you look up close, it is waking up. Look at all these swelling flower buds. Yeah, and most of this growth, a lot of this growth came last summer, but now I have tons of buds on this guy. And then these two are powder blue blueberries. So the Premier, I bought that one as a pollinator for these. I hope this is clear. But yeah, it's a pollinator for this guy. I'm hoping this footage is clear. There you go. But yeah, lots and lots of flower buds on this. So I'm going to cover all these up. I'm going to hide them in a corner, then put a blanket over them to shield them so that nothing happens to these flower buds. And you're starting to get some leaf growth as well on them. And then this one is I don't remember what kind this is. I'll put it up on the screen, but oh no, this is another Titan actually. This is a Titan blueberry plant. This one doesn't have as many buds, but the two that I showed you on my patio and this one, I just purchased these back in, I want to say I just got them back in December, so I haven't had them very long. So I wasn't expecting a ton of fruit this year. Any fruit I get this year will be a bonus. But these three I've had since last spring, these in the spring, and then this one in the summer. So I should be getting decent, and the flower buds are showing me that. Okay. All right, so next up on this tour are blackberries. These are all Primark Freedom blackberry plants. They are looking great. I actually had them in containers last year. I purchased them last spring. So, you know, I've had them just a little bit under a year. And I didn't get any fruit. Even though they're primocane fruiting, they were really, really small. So by the time they were big enough to actually put off some fruit, they were already, you know, it was already cold. So I didn't get any fruit last year on them. But I'm expecting to this year on primocanes and floricane. So I'll get a floricane crop early summer or late spring, and then I'll get the primocane crop in the fall. But I have 4 of these. Like I said, they're Primark Freedom thornless blackberries. And they didn't actually lose all their leaves at all this year. We didn't get cold enough, I guess. But they are starting to leaf out again. So they did kind of go dormant where they weren't really growing. And now, over the past week or so, they've started growing. I'm starting to see new green growth on them. And I think I saw... Yeah, I apologize if this isn't steady. I'm holding the tripod to hopefully hold it steady, but I know I move a lot. But I think I saw, this looks like maybe a flower bud. Yay. My first Primark blackberry. But I'm very excited about these guys. And getting some blackberries finally. Also in this bed, I have raspberries. I just got these raspberries a month or 2 ago, and it's just a stick. This one is a Caroline Red raspberry plant, but just this week I started seeing some growth because I was really scared. It was just a stick. Even though I know that lots of plants come like this, it always makes me paranoid that they're not going to wake up. So this guy just started waking up, and this one over here is like a double gold. I'll put the name on the screen, but it's another little stick. It hasn't started leafing or anything yet, but I'm sure it will soon. Now behind me, I have muscadines. Here, I'll back up so you can see them. I have them in containers. Y'all, I was just paranoid. I don't know how I wanted things to grow. And now the muscadines, if I try to move the containers, I can't because the roots have grown through the bottom of the pots into the ground. So if you're growing things in containers, put something underneath them if they grow deep roots. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck. So I'll leave them in these containers, and I might some point during the summer slice the container open with a knife and build like a raised bed around them and peel the container off because I can't lift them up without damaging that root. But you can see them. When I got these, they were very small. I think I have a photo that I can put up here. Got these last spring, summer, some point. So I've had them for under a year, and they were pretty small, and they grew like crazy during the season. I made this trellis for them, and it is 2 cattle panels, 2 8-foot, so it's 16 feet across. So I'm not growing them in that traditional muscadine way of just one arm on each side, mainly because I didn't have the space for that to do 2 plants. So I wanted to do 2 different kinds, and so I'm growing them like this. So I kind of am letting them branch out kind of how they want, mostly. Eventually I'll have to prune them, but it's the first year. And I'm hoping to get a ton. I grew up eating muscadines, like when I would visit my family in Alabama, and we would just pick wild ones. We called them bullets, but I love them. And so I'm very excited. I'll be excited when they start waking up and I can see how they're doing. But they grew so much over the past year. So these are going to be really fun. And this trellis is super easy to make. It was just the 2 8-foot, and I didn't buy 16-foot. I know some people buy the 16-foot cattle panels. I didn't buy those because they wouldn't fit in my car. I don't have a truck. I have a van, an Odyssey, and I could not fit 16-foot ones. But I was able to fit these 8-foot ones, and I just used zip ties to connect them to these T-posts, and that's the whole trellis. Wasn't that hard at all. But yeah, so muscadines on the perennial tour. And then also on this perennial tour, I have fruit trees. As you can see, try not to look at the trash that is my backyard. I've been out here working and not being very neat. But here, this raised bed, it's a keyhole bed, 12 feet by 4 feet on each side. But I built this last year and I grew okra in it, but this year I have fruit trees. And I'm growing them and keeping them very small. So these 2 on the end are cherry trees. I bought them, they were already kind of big, which is why I haven't chopped them yet. I mean, they didn't fruit last year or anything because I got them late in the season, but I'm kind of afraid to chop them until I see how they're gonna leaf out. You know, so hopefully, like, if these are branches, then I can cut this off here. Otherwise, I'll just keep it at this height, which is about 3 feet tall, and let it branch. But this one is a Stella cherry tree. And then this one is a Lapins cherry tree. So these are pollination partners. And once again, these were about this size when I got them, except for they've grown a little bit of branches before it got cold. So I'm not quite sure how to prune them yet. Just want to see how they grow. Now here, these trees I just got, I want to say they were delivered in December. These are peaches. So as you can see how close I have these trees together. I'm doing the backyard orchard culture method. And like I said, keeping the trees really small and really compact to grow in a small space. So essentially, each pair of trees has about 16 square feet to grow in. And so this is a harvester peach. And then this one is a Redskin peach. So when I picked varieties, I picked ones that were, of course, suitable for my area, my zone, and the chill hours. that we get, and also that we're pollination partners for each other if they needed it. And so this one, I actually need to go ahead and cut this one about right here. We're getting some cold weather this weekend, so I'm gonna wait till after that. I'm gonna cut this guy about right here. So then I can have that open kind of globe shape. And then this one I'm gonna probably about the same height. I've just been paranoid to cut them, y'all. I wanna make sure that I'm gonna get some branches. And I don't wanna cut them and then they not have viable buds. And then here I have a Methley plum tree. This one is a little tall, so I'll probably be trimming down this branch, this middle branch right here, because it's tall, too tall. So I'll probably be trimming this one down, and then I'll let these guys grow out. And then this one is also a plum. I believe it's a Bruce plum. And so right now it's just a stick, but I might chop a couple inches off of it. And then here I have my apple trees. I have a Fuji apple, this tiny, tiny little thin stick. I hope it's gonna be okay. And this Granny Smith apple. Granny Smith's a great pollinator for pretty much most other apple trees. Okay, so in this one raised bed, I have so many trees, 2, 4, 6, 8 fruit trees, 4 blackberry plants, and 2 raspberry plants. Kind of wild, huh? This is my perennial corner. So also trees, I have 2, these are Dwarf Everbearing mulberries, and right now they're in 5-gallon buckets. I bought these last summer. They were on sale for like, I want to say like $40. Seemed like a good price to me, and I always wanted a mulberry tree. I've actually never had a ripe mulberry, but my mother said they had one as a kid, and the berries were just delicious. And everything I've read said that says they were really good, and that they taste kind of like blackberries, which I'm really into. So I wanted one of these, and so I got a pair, and they are starting to wake up. You see some green, starting to leaf a little bit, so I'm excited about that. Now these I'm actually not going to leave in these buckets. They've been here since summer, but I'm actually going to move them to that area over there. Let me show you a little better. To this area where this fence is. I have to stay in this fence. I'll be doing that probably in the next week or so. We actually just got this fence installed. We extended our backyard. But I'm going to build a raised bed out of the rest of the wood. This is the rest of the wood from the old fence, from where it ended before they took that down. And I saved it. I used it to make this raised bed, actually. And I'm going to use the rest of it to make a kind of tall raised bed, maybe 3 or 4 boards high, and put those 2 mulberry trees in it. We have clay soil here, so I can plant directly into the ground. I've done it. I'll show you in a minute. My pear trees in the front. But I'd rather build a raised bed and let them be surrounded by looser soil. So I'm going to build a tall raised bed against this fence and plant the mulberry trees in that. So I need to get the fence stained before I do that, though, because it'll be a lot harder to do it afterwards. And then here, this is my gooseberry plant. Y'all, I've never had a gooseberry. So I'm kind of excited about this. As you can see, it is very thorny. I bought this last summer, or last spring, I don't remember. It was like May. Because I remember it came when I was out of town, and my mom came and potted it for me. So I'm growing this in a container. Gotta put a little plant guard underneath so the roots don't go through, but I've been moving it around. But it is actually starting to wake up a little bit. And it has a million thorns. It grew a lot last season. It didn't produce last season, but I think it produces this season. So I'm excited to get some gooseberries. So that's what I mean when I say it's like investment the first year, because you don't really get anything, or at least not very much the first year and most of these perennials, but it's worth it. So yeah, this one is, and I bought this because it was on clearance too. I can't remember what variety. I'll look it up. Oh, actually, maybe I still have the tag in here. Under the mulch. Okay, it's a Pixwell. It's a Pixwell gooseberry. And it was on clearance for like $12 on Stark Brothers. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna grow some gooseberries. So very excited about these. Can't wait to do a later spring tour when everything's awake for you guys. And then lastly is out here in the front. Now these birds are loud. Here I have 2 pear trees, and these are 20th century Asian pears. However, I actually don't think they are, because they fruited last year, and I just got them last year, but they fruited, and I think it was a different kind of pear. They weren't round. They look different. I'll let y'all be the judge when I get the fruit. But yeah, it's my 20th century Asian pear out here in the front yard. I have 2 of them. Here's one. It's pretty big. She's grown a lot the last year. I hope it's doing okay. I need to water it. And here's the other. So yeah. The grass just grew. I was not good at keeping it away from it, so I hope it hasn't robbed the plant at all. So yeah, it's my 20th century pear tree. And that is the last of my perennials. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I've really enjoyed getting to share the different perennials that I'm growing, and I hope that you've seen some that you want to consider growing in your garden. Now, I know perennials can be a little bit tough, right? These fruit plants that aren't necessarily going to give you fruit right away, but after a year, a little bit less or a little bit more, you're going to start reaping those rewards and getting to go out in your backyard and pick fresh fruits that are pretty expensive to buy in the store or that you may not even be able to find there. So consider it. Consider it an investment, put in some work, and you'll reap the rewards. Thanks again. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, help this video get out to more gardeners, and have a great one. Bye.